So today we're going to learn Rain on Me by Lady Gaga featuring Ariana Grande, and it's a super fun song to just jam to. It's really fun to play on the clarinet, and also it's a really great way to work on our F sharp scale. If this is not your favorite scale, it's a great way to work on it. So F sharp is going to start over here. I prefer this F sharp because we have to go to G sharp. However, this one right here is another F sharp fingering, just for life, good to know. In our first octave, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B natural, C sharp, D sharp, which is D with this side key, E sharp, which is also F, and then F sharp. We also have our front F sharp fingering, which we're going to use at some times. You can always use this one if you prefer, but there are times this is going to feel more natural, and times this is going to feel more natural. I use the side F sharp, which is the bottom two side keys, when I'm playing this scale. And then for the next octave, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, the side key, A sharp, which is the A key and the key in the back, down to B, long B. You can do this with this fingering over here, this pinky on your left hand, or on your right hand. You can use this one. I prefer this one, but you can do whichever one you prefer. And the reason I prefer this is when we keep going, we're going to get to D sharp. So B, C sharp, D sharp, E sharp, and F sharp. And then of course this is also F sharp, our middle finger. Or we can do our first finger and our sliver key for F sharp. So with that second octave again. And that's pretty much all the notes we're going to need to learn all the main vocal elements of this piece. So this piece starts off on our C sharp, which is actually the fifth in our scale. It spans the whole octave. So you're going to need the notes from C sharp to the lower C sharp. And you can use either C sharp, this side or this side, but I prefer this one for this piece. And we're going to go all the way down to C sharp here. And then D sharp, which looks like our D with this bottom first side key, and C sharp, which is C with the sliver key right here. You listen to her to Lady Gaga sing the opening. She's got a lot of presence and a lot of energy. You need a lot of air and a little bit of weight on each of the notes. And then some other fun things about that opening phrase that she does. We're really leading. And then the next thing is at the end of the phrase, we want to make sure we don't overemphasize those last couple notes, the D sharp and the C sharp. She really smoothly releases that. So to do that, we're getting a little bit softer, and our F sharp is the note that we want to emphasize. It's coming down on me for in like misery. This is a really great way to work on our throat tones and our transition to our C sharp. What I like to point out to people is when we go across the break, it feels huge and monumental, but we're not actually going very far. This is all my fingers have to do to cross the break. They just have to be coordinated. So it's not about force or pressure. It's just about calm coordination. And of course, air. And then if we want to talk about her articulation here, and our articulation, especially on the ending B flats, that's where we have a lot of fun. We can make it short and energetic and pointy, and that's going to come from our air and our release. Here's our scale. For the chorus line, you can just start on the F sharp. Or you can throw in pretty much any notes from the scale that you want. I think it will sound like a fun You can just go E sharp to F. And we get a lot of that idea. Or you can go further down the scale. So here's our scale. I liked going from C sharp and D sharp. On our clarinet, it feels really good to build into that with a crescendo. When you listen to her sing, she backs away from it. And the reason she does that is it's very high pitched to be singing. If you try to sing along, you have to switch to your head voice, and her tone quality changes. Though it's still really good, her tone quality changes to adjust for that. And I really like that phrasing that she gets when she does that, and we can try to match that if we want. Where it gets a little, we're singing about sad things here, even though we're optimistic. It's trauma that she's singing about. So you can get a little bit sadder at the end with that decrescendo if you want to, but you have to still be really leading forward. It would be a really different phrase if we tried to hold back. If you think about something more like a Billie Eilish song, that has a lot of the held back end of the beat in the phrasing. If we held back, it would sound like this. Which you can make beautiful, but I think that we'll be much happier with this one. And then our rain on me, rain, rain. We get to just go mi, re, do. F sharp, G sharp on the side, A sharp, then we get to Ariana's phrasing. We only really need for this first phrase do, re, mi, fa. F sharp, G sharp on the side, A sharp, and B. The end of that phrasing, I think, is where a lot of the really fun part of her energy happens. Where we get our emphasis on the F sharp, and we have our air really pushing through, but we're decrescendoing and releasing into the A sharp. So there's a little bit of an accent, and that comes from our air. Very subtle, weighty accent, not that might be a little exaggerated. That is just one note. So in order to make it sound fun, we have to really rely on our phrasing for that. So I lead almost to the last note, and then I kind of throw away the last note. Okay, our next verse, I Can Feel It on My Skin. It's one of my favorite things to play. It's such a fun phrase, and it's also a great section of our scale to work on. So we're going to mostly need from D sharp. Right, so if we're at the top of our F sharp scale, so right here. So what's fun about this is we want to be thinking about which notes are important, and they're the long notes. Is really our phrase. And feel free to go slow. This is a tricky section if we're not used to playing in this key. Okay, now we're at Ariana's part of the chorus where she joins in. So this is a duet. If you're having a hard time hearing her notes separately from Lady Gaga's, listen to me first and then go back and listen to her. It'll be easier to pick out. So these are the same notes we've already had. We just need F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, and B. And then this is also, because it's a duet, a really great time to practice recording with yourself. So you can play with the recording of the song. I think that's really fun. But I also really like getting to listen to my own recordings, hearing what I sound like. So here's a recording of me practicing Lady Gaga's part earlier. You could just record it on your phone. There's tons of free apps you can use for recording. And I definitely recommend using a recorder frequently in your practice. And now you have all the tools you need to really learn the rest of the song. The song is pretty repetitive, and if there's any parts and decorations in the background or other vocals that I didn't cover, you think you can figure it out now. It's everything in this key. You can add in other little decorations too. Anything that you do, as long as you stay in the key, it's going to sound right. She's doing all kinds of riffs and runs, but they're just in this key, so feel free to add in little decorations pretty much anywhere you want in any pop song, as long as you stay in the key. But otherwise, any other thing you want to figure out, just experiment with your notes, use your ear training, got your F-sharp scale some more if you need to help remind yourself what the notes are. And I'm Jessica. I love pop music and the clarinet, and I make these videos so you can love them too. I go over notes, fingerings, phrasing, technique tips, and so much more, so feel free to skip around and take what you need and leave what you don't. And just have fun playing great music on your instrument.